Hello everyone, I hope you're fine. In the previous video we saw the different type of measures of center. It's very nice because the median, the mean and the mode are very useful, but sometimes it's not enough. Let's see an example here together. The first set of numbers 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. The second one 2, 6, 10, 14, 18. If we compute their mean and their median, we get 10 for both of them. So we cannot say, okay, this one is different from that one because they have the same median, they have the same mean. But we can see those two sets are slightly different. The values are not the same. So we want now to be able to quantify, to determine the dispersion, the spread of the value. And the classic measures we're gonna learn together are the range, the quartiles, interquartile range, the variance, and the standard deviation. Let's start with the easiest one. It's called the range. The range actually it's just the difference between the smallest and the greatest value. So with this example here, okay, the smallest value is 0, the greatest one is 40. So the range is the difference, 40 minus 0. So the range is 40. That's it. Very easy. So yes, it's easy to compute, but it's not very reliable because it takes only into account the extreme values. Another one we're going to see together is the quartiles. Okay, what is a quartiles? A quartiles are some values that divide all the dataset into 4 equal parts. Do you remember the median? The median was the value that separates the value into 2 equal parts. 50% of the value were less than the median and 50% more than the median. The quartiles are the same, but with the first quarter, so 25% less than the first quartile and 75% more. And the third quartile, we write it as Q3. We have 75% of the values are less than this and only 25% more than the value of Q3, so the third quartile. It's really like the median, but with 25% and 75%. To be able to compute the quartile, we can use the column cumulative percent. You will see it's very easy. So you have a number of person here, the frequency, so 5 people, 5 times 1 person, 9 times 2 person, 15 times and so on. So we can compute the cumulative frequency, we just accumulate the values. The percent, do you remember, it's the value frequency here, so 5 divided by the total, so 10%, 18%, and so on. And then we can construct the cumulative percent column. So we get this. It means from 0 to 10%, all the values are 1. Between 10 and 28%, all the values are 2. Between 29, 28, and 58%, it's only 3, and so on and so on. So the first 10% are 1, from the 11th% till the 28th% it's 2, and so on and so on. So if I want to find the first quartile, which is at 25%, so I have to look where do I exceed 25%. It's just here. Because 10, okay, no, I don't exceed it, but here with 28, I overpass 25%. So it's at this moment that the first quartile is defined. So the first quartile here is 2. The third quartile is when we overpass 75%. So let's see, oh, here. It's more than 75. So yes, the third quartile is 4. and the second quartile, which is actually the median because it's with 50%. So I'll just have a look where I overpass 50%. Oh yes, it's here. So the median, the second quartile, which are the same, is 3. Just a general remark, we decided to separate all the values into 4 parts and we called it quartile. We can divide it in a lot of different manners. For example, the deciles, when we divide in 10 parts, or a lot of different values, but we just limit ourselves with the quartiles. But just to let you know that the deciles and other things exist as well. Oops. When we have a continuous variable, what we do is like the median. So we just have a look, where do we overpass 25 and 75%? And we say, okay, my first quartile belongs to the interval 15-20. And my third quartile belongs to the interval 25-30. So we won't define the exact value, but we just say, okay, the quartile is in this interval. So here I overpass 25% at this moment. So it means my first quartile is in the interval 15-20. For the third quartile, which is 75%, it's here that I overpass 75%, so it's 25-30. That was all about the quartiles. Knowing that, we can compute the interquartile range. Actually, it's just the difference between Q3, so the third quartile, and the first quartile, Q1. Like the range, but with the quartiles. One minus the other one. And we also have the semi-interquartile range. It's the same, but we divide it by 2. So it's kind of a median, it's kind of a mean here. So here we have 2 examples. We saw before the third quartile was 4 and the first quartile was 2. So when we subtract, we have 2, which is the interquartile range. And we can divide it by 2 in order to get the semi-interquartile range. This range is more reliable than the first, than the general range, because we just consider the value in the centers. We exclude the 50% of the lower and upper values.